Dahlia ducked down as she entered Mother Silent Cut's nest. Her hands rubbed across the woven boning as she followed Gorpul. The mother, 3 other daughters, and the old males were awake and at attention when they stepped into the main room. Quietbite, Gorpul, and Sliplegs all bowed, eyes darkening in the dim bioluminescent glow. Quietbite turned an eye up toward her mother. "We have returned." Dahlia listened as the new translator hung on. Gorpul spit out the words. Mother Silent Cut gestured toward the human female. "You have brought another." Gorpul chittered her mandibles, raising up slightly. "She is mine to teach." Silent Cut stood up and slowly started down the stairs. "To teach? I asked you to go and learn. What foolishness is this?" Dahlia looked around at all the cowering xenoarchs, and then straight ahead at the towering mother walking toward her. I know lots," she said, raising up her hands. "I'm not a threat." Silent Cut got closer, mouth open. "Ask. Anything. I'll tell you." The mother stopped, her upper right hand extended toward Dahlia. "How do I kill a human?" Dahlia listened as the words came through, looking up at her 4 eyes. I asked. Tell me. Our bodies operate on systems, same as any other life form. We die like anything else." The mother tilted her head, eyes looking over Dahlia. She reached down, grabbing her arm, and gave a light squeeze. "Ow!" Dahlia shouted as the pressure pinched her muscle. Gorpul rose up. Silent Cut shifted an eye toward her daughter. "You regret giving me this gift?" "She is not a gift, Mother. She is mine." Silent Cut let go of Dahlia and shifted legs, looking toward her daughter. "You are mine, Gorpul. Your sisters are mine. Your mate is mine. This thing is mine. Everything in this hollow is mine. Do you understand?" The other daughters rose up slightly, each stepping away from Silent Cut and more toward Gorpul. The mother looked over them. "Oh, I see then." She slumped slightly. "Am I gotten that old? No respect in my own nest?" Quietbite looked at her sisters and then up at her mother. "Your time isn't over yet, Mother. We still need you, but we don't need you angry like this. Please, back down from this." Silent Cut chitter her mandibles. "Of all my daughters to try and calm me? You? My little violence?" Dahlia took a step back from her, edging toward the wall. A male grabbed her from behind, covering her mouth, and pulled her back toward their cove in the corner. Gorpul rose up taller. "Calm yourself, Mother, and hear of our adventure." Silent Cut chittered slightly and widened her eyes before making her way back up to the top of the stairs. She waved a hand for her daughter to continue. "Tell me, what is their nest like?" Gorpul looked at Quietbite with an eye before speaking. "They live by squares, cubes. Everything has edges and is in boxes." She raised up the translator hanging on her torso. "They're magic. The sphere of Bubba is a rarity. Almost all is shaped like this." Mother Silent Cut gagged slightly, coughing up some bone shrapnel out of her throat. "Gross. Sounds unnatural." Gorpul widened her eyes. "Very much. They don't live amongst the trees. They culled a chunk of the forest to the stone, walled off water. Everything was loud, louder than dying Gertik. A buzz, in everything." Quietbite stepped up beside her sister. "Everything is bright, and they like it. They have warm lights in their nests," she chittered. "Food and such delicious drink. It made my body want to grab things." Gorpul chittered, 2 eyes shifting toward her sister. "We fought some humans. She tasted one." Silent Cut moved at that, shifting on her cushion. "Tell me." "Red inside," Quietbite said. "Tastes of rock and meat. Oddly pleasant." The mother rose her head up, eyes locking onto Dahlia. "Are they all like her?" Gorpul widened her eyes, 2 shifting onto her ward. "A few are slightly bigger, but none stand up to you, Mother." "But they're magic," Silent Cut said. "Did you learn how to stop it?" Dahlia laughed. Mother turned all 4 eyes on her and stood taller. Dahlia shut her mouth quickly. An old, balding male grabbed hold of her. Silent Cut shifted, looking at her. "I know that noise. The witch man made that noise. You think I am in jest?" Dahlia shook her head. No, I meant no offense." "Tell me," I asked. "Why do you chitter at me?" Dahlia calmed herself and stood up, pushing the male's hands off of her. I'm I came here to learn from you, but our deal was I will also teach you things, if you're willing to learn. I asked you a question, human. A question. Dahlia took a breath to stop herself from shaking. I'm trying to answer it, Mother. She took a step toward the center of the room. You, your people, have seen only a drop of water that is humanity. There's swamps of us, scattered across the sky. She said, raising her hand up toward the ceiling. Humans control stars themselves. Planets cave at our expansion. Black holes fuel stations larger than this entire system. You have absolutely no idea what you are fucking with. Silent Cut chittered. I do not wish to mate with you. You disgust me, maybe eat you, but no, I have no desire for your advance. Dahlia groaned. I am not of your world. You understand that at least, right? You question my intelligence? Dahlia shook and looked up, trying to think how to communicate with this giant spider woman. You know things I don't, right? Silent Cut chittered. Many things. Dahlia raised her hands up. Okay, now imagine humans meeting hundreds of other peoples just like you, who each know as much as you do. Can you imagine that? You have met other nests? Dahlia nodded. Many other nests of all types. Humans learned everything they can from them, hundreds of others. She pointed at herself. I am here to learn from you, but I have access to the knowledge of hundreds of nests beyond this world. Does that make sense? Silent Cut lowered slightly. You are a drop in the swamp. She turned an eye towards her daughters. We are a drop in the swamp. Her eyes darkened. But humans? Your people work together. Dahlia laughed slightly. Yes and no. If you live in such large nests, you work together, no? Dahlia thought for a moment, and then pointed toward her rucksack that Quiet Bite had left near the room's entrance. Can I show you something? Your magic? Dahlia bounced her head a bit. Kind of. Silent Cut motioned with her hand. I am learning. Teach me what you wish to show. Dahlia moved slow across the room and got into her bag. She pulled out her imager box and sat down on the floor. She touched it, causing a holographic interface to display. Mother Silent Cut chittered and made her way back down the steps. What? What is that? Dahlia put a finger up, still focused on the display. She clicked on her specimen list and scrolled through it, stopping on a winged carapaced creature. She looked up at the mother. Do you know these? Trattle, Silent Cut said, looking at the floating image. How is this doing this? Don't mind how, think why. Tell me about Trattle, she said, trying to replicate the consonant-filled word. They're small, eat filth, taste awful, Dahlia sighed. How do they live? Gorpul stepped closer, eyeing the image. They live many in the mud, tunnels and swarms. Exactly, Dahlia said, smiling at Gorpul. The guys I deal with like conducting, physical experiments for me. You ever kick a few of their nests at the same time? Quiet Bite chittered. Many times. They come out in clouds. Dahlia raised a finger. If you kick two nests near each other, what do those clouds do? Silent Cut shifted, looking over the image of the floating Trattle. The clouds attack each other. Dahlia nodded. That is like humans. We work together great, but we kill each other even better. It's a thing, I hate it, but it's real. The mother looked at the human with all four eyes. Humans are this many? Swarm-lie Trattle? Dahlia shook her head. More. Silent Cut lowered herself due to the word. She looked at her daughters and then at the few males. We could not fight that. Dahlia laughed. You felt how squishy I am, right? Silent Cut widened her eyes. Yes, you are soft, meat on the outside. Yet I am one of the most powerful on this planet. I have respect all through the town. She stood up and looked around, smiling. I told Bubba to do something, and he didn't question. He brought me here, because this is where I want to be. She looked at Gorpul. Did he not? Gorpul chittered. You commanded him, and he obeyed. Dahlia looked around the room. You help me, Mother. Learn what I need to know, and I will teach you what you need to know. Silent Cut thought for a moment. I fear for my daughters, their clutches. I do not want them eaten like their fathers were. Dahlia nodded. I can help with that, But first I need to know what you're capable of. Run some tests. Tests? The mother asked. Yes, Dahlia continued. See what all energy sources you're able to use, tools you use, pets you have, pretty much your culture. I need to learn all I can about you. Gorpol looked her over with all four eyes. You wish to learn us like the people in the sky? Dahlia shrugged. Only if you wish to be one of us. Alexandra woke up before light, the nights being longer than she needed. She groaned, feeling the tight knots in her hair. Stupid spiders. She rolled out of bed, groggy. Bubba was snoring on the other side. Her hand found its way through her braids. I should have took these out before. She got up and made her way out of the bedroom and into the hall. She walked toward her dressing room, entered, and turned on the lights. She stopped in front of the mirror, looking at her naked form. Her hands found their way into her unmoved hair. Wow, didn't come loose at all. Her fingers found the woven strands, pulling, unable to undo the weaves. Holy hell. She moved over to her light table and sat, moving her hair in front of the mirror. Damn it! She groaned, her fingers unable to undo the intricate designs. She looked back up at herself, noting the lines in her face. She shook her head and stood, making her way to her clothing rack. She pulled her overalls off and slipped into them. She went back in front of the mirror and moved back and forth. Time to get the day started, I guess. She went back out into the hall and walked toward the back door, exiting into the greenhouse. Above, the sky was still dark. She sighed and drew in a long breath, smelling the scent of earthen flowers. She nodded to herself and walked over to her potting shelf, grabbing a hold of the asparagus. Time to get you in some dirt. She smiled, taking the plant over to a deep trough, moving away dirt to form a hole. She stuck the roots in the bottom, with the stalk facing up. With a gentle movement, she pushed the dirt back over the roots. Alexandra stood straighter, looking around at all the greenery. She smiled and went over to the irrigator, pressing the button to cause the pump to draw in water out of the swamp, filtering it and spraying it lightly over her plants. Grow strong, she said, turning back toward the hall door. Bubba woke up and paced groggily through the house. He made his way out to the front porch eventually, finding Alexandra. How'd you sleep? She was sitting in a rocking chair looking out toward the trees. Decent enough. What are you doing out here? She raised a bottle and smiled at him. Getting my day kicked off? He looked out as a deep purple light filled the morning swamp. If Puss shows up, I plan on going out hunting. You want to come? She shook her head. No, I'm going to enjoy my day here, she said. Before you go, though, I want to borrow him and get these braids out of my hair. He smiled back at her. They look good, though. They're tight and they hurt. He shrugged, turning back toward the door. Sure, I'll mention it. I'm going to get some breakfast. He paused. You want me to cook you up some? She nodded. Please do. Dahlia woke up in her bedroll, stretching. She opened her eyes to see 4 more staring down at her, causing her to immediately spasm in fear. The fuck? Gorpol took a step back due to the human's commotion. It is interesting watching you sleep. You say nonsense. Dahlia took a few calming breaths before nodding at her. Yeah, I'm an active dreamer. Imagination in sleep? I don't understand. Dahlia started getting out of her role. Yeah, your minds might not do that. She got a leg out and pulled free, looking over at the xenoarch. When we sleep, our minds don't shut down fully. We run background routines that help free up space and organize our synapses. Gorpol looked her over. In your mind? Dahlia tapped her head. Organ in your skull. She laughed and then pointed at her chest. In your core, where your thoughts come from. Gorpol's eyes widened. Ah, yes. Damage to there, lethal. She tapped Dahlia's skull. Your thoughts come from there? Dahlia nodded. Yeah. She looked around the smaller nest. So, what are we doing today? Waiting for Sliplegs to return. He needs to feed us. Dahlia saw 2 other females near the entrance, strumming the floor. So, everyone is just waiting for food? She imitated the human nod. Yes, he must serve us. That's got to be a pain. And it's just him hunting, right? Yes, Gorpul said, walking across the room. Why don't you go help? All eyes from all three turned toward the human. Gorpul tilted her head, chittering her mandibles. That is a male's job. He is husband now. He knows his role. Interesting, Dahlia said quietly as she crawled over to her rucksack. He must be pretty good hunter feeding you ladies. She darkened her eyes and adjusted closer to the human, looking into her satchel. I do not think so. He is only saved by his allegiance to your Bubba. Dahlia laughed. My Bubba? I barely know the guy. He is a human, like you. She turned and met her 4 eyes. Do you know every one of your kind? Gorpul tilted her head. No, that is true. She tilted again. But he brought you here. You do trade. Do you not consider him part of your tribe? Are you not one of his trattle, as you said? Dahlia paused, thinking. So trattle, they behave based on something called convergent behavior. They don't have alliances or whatever. They just do. Simple commands multiplied by their vast numbers. They're swarming, they're attacking. It's all just programmed responses to stimuli. No thought needed. You don't think? Gorpul asked. I'm lacking understanding again. Dahlia reached in and pulled out her datapad and started typing. So, there are layers. You have a form of genetics. She looked up at her. Your planet is quite old, so you have some deep-coded behaviors in your genes. I have some suspicions on those, but yeah, DNA is one layer. That's what the trattle operate on. Then you have your mind on top of that. That's where you and I are operating at right now. I do not understand most of that. It did not translate. Nor should it. She looked down at her data plate and hit an accept button. She then reached into her satchel and pulled out the hologram. I'm putting in base courses in here if you're still wanting to learn. I was told to learn. I will learn. She looked at the device as a head similar to hers was projected. What is that? Dahlia looked at it. It's rendering a form to assist in teaching. I figured if it could parrot your facial expressions, it might be easier for you to follow along. Parrot? Gorpul repeated. Flying creature of your world, it has your faces. Languages are a pain. Guess we should start there. She touched her datapad again. I am putting in an encyclopedia, a database of words and meanings, coupled with history. If you're going to learn about people, you need to know our history. That stuff stays in our minds. Gorpul nodded, looking at her. History I understand. Dahlia looked up at her. You got some stories? Stories? I am not good at telling stories. Dahlia looked back toward the other 2 females waiting at the door. I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm curious as to the imbalance of males to females. Gorpul sat down beside her, watching her fingers move. You wish to know where the males are? She nodded. Your non-friend. Bubba, he hurt many, killed others. Mother didn't get fed, ate the broken ones. Other females in the clan, they got hungry, weak. The mother to the west came with her sisters, took the last 3 strong ones, killed 2 ants. Dahlia stopped typing and looked at her. You're weakened. A hurting people. Gorpul widened her eyes, shrinking her body inward slightly. We are wary, pressed between dangers. And me being here, you're just hoping to survive, aren't you? We are desperate. Your non-friend Bubba has been a source of rest for us these last few days, a relief compared to before. Dahlia looked down and opened her journal, typing in some notes. Gorpul watched for a bit. A few minutes later, the females at the door rose up, sensing movement through the strands. One of the sisters turned, looking at Gorpul. He's returning! Gorpul rose up. He's coming with food! She tapped Dahlia as she got up, moving across the room. Dahlia watched as she pulled open an opening in the wall and pulled an attached sphere from it like an exposed cyst. The xenoarc touched the smaller sphere and exposed the lower inside portion. Glowing red embers sparked to life. She laughed. You do have ovens, and they're not catching fire. An eye pivoted back toward her. Ovens hold fire. They do not catch fire. She turned all 4 eyes back toward stoking the flame. Do your ovens burn in your nests? I did not notice any. Dahlia shook her head and crawled over. Slip legs ducked in through the door at the end of the hall, and the 2 females stepped aside. Quiet Bite entered behind him, carrying 4 strings of carapaced fish organisms. She watched as they approached and handed them over to Gorpul, who then started cracking them and hanging them in the upper portion of the oven. Dahlia looked in, feeling the heat. There's several species there, it looks like. Gorpul shifted an eye at her. Iguan. That just a blanket term for them, or does each kind have a name? Quietbite sat beside her, 3 eyes watching the food cook. Iguan swim and we eat them. Dahlia nodded. And if they swim and you don't eat them? Nintatk, Quietbite said. Nintatk. Dahlia mispronounced. Sliplegs shook his head. Nintatk. Nintatk, she repeated. Why don't you eat them? He looked at her with 2 eyes, the other 2 looking over the 4 females near him. Pain. He touched his arms and then his torso. Interesting? Lethal? He darkened his eyes as he shook his head slightly. Just pain. And what if it doesn't swim and you can eat it? Gorpul moved an eye back toward her. Fly and eat, Shetalf. Fly and pain, Grat. The human nodded. So pretty much how it moves, and if you can eat it. Sliplegs widened his eyes. Yes. Do you have any names for specific creatures? Sliplegs nodded awkwardly. Ghost. Quietbite shifted all 4 eyes toward him. He was focused on Dahlia and didn't notice. My father nearly died days ago to Ghost. He ate one? Dahlia asked. No, the witch touched him with it. He went into the sleep. Gorpul shifted 3 eyes toward him. The sleep? Dahlia asked. He would have died, but Bubba used his magic and saved him. Gorpul scooted away from the oven, moving a sister to take over the cooking as she focused on Sliplegs. I did not realize this fully. How did he save him? Dahlia watched them talk, Gorpul's rectangle translating. He used the magic square man, hologram like hers. It gave him spheres to fix him and he woke up. Then we came here for me to marry. Gorpul sat for a second. Ghost, there is no coming back. Never has been. This is great magic. She chittered her mandibles. Your father, he came back from the sleep of death. Dahlia laughed to herself. Gorpul shifted 2 eyes toward her. What did I joke about? Bubba, that idiot. She shook her head. Put your dad into a coma, sounds like, and then woke him up. Probably some Narcan or something. Gorpul scooted toward her. You can do his magic? The human shrugged. Not magic, just chemistry. Bodies, yours, mine, everyone react to chemicals and those chemicals can be countered. Humans have been utilizing poisons and antidotes since before we could write. Poison? Gorpul repeated the word, listening to the translator shifting it in her own consonant-filled speech. You can control poisons? Dahlia nodded. I'm a biologist. My degree involved lots of chem courses. I've got a basic print tool in here. Could make some things if I get a setup. Quietbite stared at her for a moment as a quiet fell in the room. What do you do with them? Dahlia laughed. Oh shit, well you don't understand? Gorpul mimed her head shaking back and forth. You use dangerous flesh, do damage. Is that correct? Dahlia sighed, looking them each in the eyes, gauging their attention. Look, I don't know if this is morally right teaching you all. Gorpul hissed. You are here to teach, and will learn from us in return. The human shrugged again. Okay, but I need you to promise me a few things for this knowledge. She looked at each as they mimed the nodding. Okay, first, you don't eat me. Gorpul looked around her nest, looking at eyes. Of course, you are protected by me. Second, you stop anyone or anything from trying to hurt me. Gorpul rose up slightly, a quiet hiss in the back of her mouth. You are protected by me, she repeated. Thirdly, I get 4 asks of you. Asks? The Xenoarch questioned. Dahlia nodded. 4 favors, 1 for each of your hands. I ask something of this nest and you do it, no questioning my ask. Gorpul thought for a moment. Simple enough. Teach us. Dahlia smiled. Well, there are numerous poisons, and people my kind, we don't have a lot of natural weapons. Quietbite chittered. You are squishy, all meat. Dahlia winked at her. Exactly. We're squishy, not that strong, so we had to make use of anything we could find. She looked around at them, the female at the oven only watching the meat with 1 eye. One thing humans found was a small insect-eating creature that had a powerful poison in its body. Sliplegs nodded. You did not eat it, pain? We did not eat it, painful death. They all looked at each other. Quiet Bite nodded. Ghost. Dahlia nodded back. Our ghost, yes. But we took the ghost frog and would catch them, without touching. We boiled their blood, coated our arrows, and used that as a weapon. Gorpal raised up slightly. Arrows? That word did not translate. Dahlia sighed and reached back, stretching to grab the emitter. She pulled it over with her datapad and typed out several commands. The emitter projected an image of an arrow before talking. Arrow, commonly coupled with a bow, a projectile weapon used in primitive warfare to inflict ranged damage. The Xenoarchs were mesmerized as Dahlia watched. Gorpal looked up. Show us how to make this magic. Dahlia stared back at her. 4 favors, remember? Gorpal shook her head. We'll give you 5 of your favors. Teach us this now. Dahlia raised a hand up. Eat first? Gorpal looked around at her sisters and Sliplegs. Yes, eat. Tell us more. But you will teach us this. Dahlia nodded, smiling. That's why I'm here, she said, chuckling.